get this draft started. We'll answer questions along the way. Drop them in the chat. I got pick 8. Tyler, you got pick 11. Let's see how we do, baby. The draft has begun. Another question came in, said, what do you think's the best spot to draft from this year? I get this question all the time, Tyler. How are you feeling? Because I kind of sound like I feel like I say the same thing every single season.
Oh yeah, I say the same thing as well. Like this time of the year, I just feel like I'm on repeat. I just say the same stuff. People ask the same questions, but for me, like how I approach the draft this year, obviously, like I'm speaking in a 1 quarterback league, just kind of like your standard league. I like the first 3 picks, or I like 11 and 12. And the reason why I like 11 and 12 is just because you're able to start off with like Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and you can have one of the really good wide receivers that go in the first round, or maybe 2 good running backs and like Jahmyr Gibbs and JT. So I just love that pick, like how you start the first 2 rounds, and then the 1, 2, 3, you get like elite players. So
yeah, I'm there with you. Like, to be honest, I really like having like a top 3 pick, or just give me something later on so the draft starts to get filled out. Like, I think in the middle, I don't really mind any spot, right? Like, you're gonna get I'm here 8. I know I'm getting a great player in the first round. It doesn't matter at all. But I think if I had to pick, like, I want to get the guy that I want in picks 1 through 3. I can get Tyreek, CD, CMC. You're getting an elite, no questions. You got a good player. And then towards the end, the back end of this first, you can get 2 really good players, especially if somebody drops. So for me, I'm all about that. How are we gonna go auto, Samuel? How are we gonna go auto, man? First pick, you went auto. You got to get off auto, bro.
All right, I'm on the clock. Oh no. I'm gonna go with Jamar, but man, oh man, that's a tough decision there.
Yeah.
We'll see what this
that's your boy. That's your boy Jamar. That's your boy Jamar.
Well, I know. Oh, okay. Maybe he'll skip out of. This is tough right here because there's 2 guys I really want. I don't want to say anything because all right, beautiful. So I can get. I love Anthony Richardson. I mean, I could have gone the stack with Joe Burrow, but I really think Anthony Richardson has quarterback 1 overall upside. So to land him in a super flex draft and have Jamar Chase, who I also think can be wide receiver 1 if things go right there as well. Like, I love that start. So.
Yeah, no, and I think there's a lot of people who would have took Anthony Richardson in that first round.
And I honestly didn't even see him. I'm not gonna lie. So I would have taken Anthony Richardson in the first 100% because I would have then I could have had either Jamar Chase, Breece Hall, or Bijan Robinson on the way back, and like that is just a fantastic start.
Yeah. So. Daniel, what's good, bro? Everything's on go mode for me as well, and you already know fantasy season's here, so things are about to dial up even more. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. This is kind of a hard pick right here, man, because I don't really like the quarterbacks here. I'm gonna go receiver, and actually I'm gonna go running back here, and this is still good running back value. I'm gonna take Saquon. I like getting Saquon, man. I love Saquon over Gibbs, man. I think Gibbs has the floor. Man. I think Gibbs has the floor. I ain't gonna hold you there, like with the pass catching work this year. But Saquon to me, especially the one thing that could change Saquon from like mid-tier running back 1, high-end running back 1 to the running back 1 is if Kellen Moore really does get rid of the tush push without Jason Kelce there. Because now we're getting Saquon goal work, and that could be like potentially in that offense behind that line could be like the RB1.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out this year for sure.
So
how do you feel about because I was doing a write-up earlier with players like running backs I'm targeting, running backs I'm fading. Yeah. And there's one guy that like I just really want nothing to do with this year. How do you feel about Aaron Jones?
You know, I've always been a really big Aaron Jones advocate. The one concern I have with Aaron, I think he'll play well. So, and I know he'll miss a couple games. What he does every year, miss 3-4 games a year. The one concern I have with Aaron Jones is that Ty Chandler did look pretty decent towards the end of last year. And say this thing gets out of hand and Darnold isn't the starting quarterback by week 10, JJ McCarthy comes in and this team's far, far from the playoff picture. Now we're like, Aaron Jones on a 1-year deal. They may want to see what they have. So I think he'll be good value throughout the year. My concern is when it matters most during the fantasy playoffs, is he going to be available?
Are you concerned about his age at all? Because he'll be 30.
You know, a lot of people worry about age, but I could have worried about Aaron Jones' age last year. He played well. I could have worried about Derrick Henry's age over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, but he missed like 6 games last year.
Yeah, but on the field, the thing is, players miss time all the time. So
And
you
they
get,
do. Agreed.
I feel like young players have missed time. But we dropped quarterbacks last year. A lot of quarterbacks got hurt, so anybody can get hurt. And I think when I'm looking at a guy like Derrick Henry, or I'm looking at a guy like Kamara, I'm looking at whoever that's older, you kind of just got to bake that in. I think it's already been baked into their ADP. Like, if we knew that
Yeah.
Derrick Henry wasn't going to get hurt, he would be going earlier. If we knew Alvin Kamara wasn't a risk, he'd be going earlier. So I take the star power. I worry about the risky side later. You don't. So you don't like risky players though.
No, I
You're
mean,
not a
I
big
love
fan of
risky
like
players.
like risk.
Devon Achan's one of the riskiest players in all of fantasy.
But
I love
okay. You don't
Devon
like old
Achan.
old risk, old risk.
No, I don't like I guess I'm just in that like dynasty mindset where it's just like once a player hits a certain age, I kind of want nothing to do with them unless I'm competing, which obviously you're competing in redraft. But at the same time, it's like once running backs really start to show their age a little bit, and like for Aaron Jones, he was good in games, but also the efficiency has been declining. And like he's just at that age where any year, and I always say this that I'd rather be a year too early than a year too late in these kind of guys. Where any year now with Aaron Jones, like the wheels just completely fall off, and it's just he's done, unfortunately.
Well, we saw it with Dalvin Cook, and I was on Dalvin Cook
Yeah,
last year
that was
when he went to the Jets.
bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad, and I think that's maybe the area where it could hurt you is like if they go to a situation where they are clearly, not able to not able to replicate their performance. Like for me, I don't know. I, it can hurt you, but at the same time, that kind of player could be a top 15 guy, and you're getting him at the back end of the RB2 conversation. Like I'm not mad at that. A guy like Devontae Adams, you feel me? Like could bomb out, could be old now, but also could be the top 10 guy we always know and love.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Jahan about to smack this draft up. Gabe, you in this, bro? I forgot what's your team name. Toker
Should I do
Jones.
it?
Do
I'll
it.
do it. Well, I don't think I'm going to go with the quarterback there, although there are some really good quarterbacks I like here. I do have a really solid QB1 in my opinion.
I know who you're
Maybe
about to
test
get.
out one more round. All right.
I know who
We'll
you're
get my
thinking.
boy.
There he is. Fell to you in the
We'll get my
fourth.
boy. The
Would you rather have,
RB1 overall.
oh my God, here we go. The RB1 overall. Would you rather have ETN, Christian Kirk, Achan, or Devontae Smith? How you feeling about this one, Tyler? I could answer it, but how you feeling about this one?
I mean, I think it's honestly not bad on either side. Like, I think that with the Achan side, in my opinion, I think there's more upside because of Achan and also like Devontae, I feel like can outscore Christian Kirk, but the other side might be a bit safer just because ETN, like we'll see. I'm sure ETN's going to see a ton of volume this year.
Yeah,
But I'd rather go with like Achan just because I do think that he can break fantasy, and I love Devontae Smith. I think he's so damn good.
I think the upside is just too crazy on that Achan Devontae Smith side.
Yeah.
Like Devontae Smith could easily outproduce Christian Kirk in my opinion,
Yeah.
and ETN could fall from grace from where he was last year. Look more like second half ETN. And Achan, I mean, if he hits, like you said, it's not break. I don't think it's break fantasy
Oh,
production. He's
break
not
it.
that. No, he would
Oh,
have in
break
order to
it.
break fantasy, he would need Raheem Mostert to be out for the season. That's that.
He's
Then it
32.
becomes break fantasy. That's
Raheem
when it
Mostert's
becomes.
32.
But
Like
even
it's
then, what is that top five? It's I don't know. I don't see break fantasy, but I
he
like
was
the wording. I like
top
the wording.
5 in points per game last year with Raheem Mostert. Like
Oh my
I'm
gosh, the
telling you,
50-point game
you need to just get
carrying,
on the Devon
carrying.
Achan train. All right, just what are you doing? Sitting in the caboose back there. You're
The
gonna
A
lose all your
chain train.
leagues.
Breece has a shot at RB1, get ADP. Mm, good.
Yeah.
He has a chance at it. Do you think this is a big question? So obviously, I think me and you talked about this, but Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, right? This is probably one of like the better questions I've been getting. Like, who do you take first? For whatever reason, this seems to be like a big predicament for people in drafts in that middle of the first round. And
Yeah.
I really like Bijan this year, but I want to hear a different perspective because I kind of have concerns about Breece Hall replicating his production from last year.
So I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Bijan as well. Like I love those guys, and I think that with the wide receiver position, it's just pushed these guys down the board a little bit because, like, in just a couple of years ago, like Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson would probably be going 2 and 3, like
Yeah,
unanimous in drafts. But now the running back position is kind of being faded a little bit. So these guys are getting pushed closer to the mid to late first round, which I think is just tremendous value, like you said, um, for those guys. But like for me with Breece Hall, coming out the torn ACL last year, the Jets were the worst offense in the league, scored the fewest amount of points. He was still RB2 in points per game, was RB2 in overall points at the running back position, or no, maybe 3. I don't know if it was him or Raheem Mostert. But anyways, so coming off the torn ACL, worst quarterback play in the NFL, worst offense in the NFL. As long as Aaron Rodgers, like the biggest X factor for this offense is Aaron Rodgers.
yeah,
If he's not washed, then I do think this offense will be much like vastly improved from like that offense over the past couple of years with Wilson run the show. Will they be the best offense in the league? Probably not. But could they be a top 10 offense? Potentially if Aaron Rodgers isn't washed. So like you just have a guy who is such a good prospect, produce when he's on the field in the NFL. Like I just think that it's sky high for Breece Hall, in my opinion.
I hear you. I hear you. The one. What he led the league in he tied for league in receptions last year, right?
At the
Was
running
that
back
him?
position, I think he was
Wasn't
right
he tied?
around probably. He probably led the league. I wouldn't be
I think he
shocked if
led the
he
league
did.
or was tied. I know it was up there,
I
but
know he had a
uh,
ton of targets.
the one area I'm concerned is like I know Aaron Rodgers does check down a little bit, but not at the same volume as some like Simeon last year was just force feeding the shit out of him. I mean, he was having like 13 target games towards the end down the stretch.
Yeah,
I
he
just
was
don't see
1
that.
in receptions and
Number one,
targets at the running back position,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's for me. I see that was like his big value last year, and
Well,
I know he's gonna be better this year.
the one thing that I'll kinda counter with that is that I do think, like, Bijan could be RB1. Like, are you saying that Bijan could be RB1 in terms of, like, receptions at the running back position too? I mean, I would even argue Gibbs potentially could be RB1 in receptions.
I think Gibbs has a better chance of being leading the league in receptions, like
Yeah.
Kamara-esque. I think Gibbs is more
I think
Kamara-esque,
he's
right?
yeah, I think that's who Gibbs is probably gonna turn
But I
into is
think
Alvin
Bijan
Kamara.
is like Saquon-esque, where you can have 60 to
Yeah,
70 receptions and then also have another 10 to
a
15
ton of
touchdowns on top of
yeah.
that. And now we're talking about a
I think
whole
that's also Breece
different type
Hall.
of
Like,
player.
we've seen it with Breece Hall too. The only thing that I'll say is that you have which is really interesting with these 2 running backs. You have 2 quarterbacks who just tore their Achilles. So they're probably not gonna be mobile whatsoever. They're probably gonna be statues in the pocket, which is gonna force them to get the ball out of their hands quicker than maybe, especially Aaron Rodgers, who had some escapability throughout his entire career, but now it's probably zapped with the Achilles tear. So I think that these could be 2 running backs that could be top 3 in terms of receptions and targets at the running back position.
No, this is a good conversation, man. I think it's going to be highly debatable. The good thing is about Bijan, Breece Hall, excuse me, Breece Hall. You got Jameer Gibbs, Saquon. You're in really good hands with any of these running backs. If
Yeah.
those guys are RB1s, I think no matter what, you're in great hands. So they all have a chance, and I think we're kind of really nitpicking here. It's like, do you take CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill? It's kind of the same thing there. So either way, you're in good hands. To me, I'm going Bijan. I'll let you get Breece. So. God, I would have taken Big Ant fourth overall if Mahomes isn't on the board. I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at the Anthony Richardson love, man. He that's a player that could break fantasy.
Yeah.
Yo, Justin, where do you see Pickens starting, and will he tail off or heat up late? I think he'll be hot early and often. So I think Pickens, they're trying to move him around the offense right now. There's been talks that they're moving George Pickens into the slot a little bit, so he will get some slot work, play outside. And for Arthur Smith, a guy who's been, we haven't been able to rely on him fantasy wise for the receiver position. Pickens is the alpha, the guy, the only receiver on a team when Russell Wilson likes to force feed his number one receiver. So he likes big body receivers. Give me George Pickens all day, every day at his ADP right now. I think he's going to be a steal down there. So I see you with
Um,
Devontae Smith, man. Who are you looking at right now?
I could potentially go with a quarterback too, but I might test the waters and wait just a little bit. Um, I
Why you
really
pick?
like I
Go
love
ahead.
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, huh? I knew that. You
I'm
took Pitts
I'm
over
all in.
McBride?
What's that?
You took Pitts over McBride?
Yeah. Like I think that there's I mean I already have Drake London. I could have went
Oh,
with
yeah. Yeah.
but I think that as long as Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins-esque, I really think this Atlanta offense will be just vastly improved. And I mean, I've already talked about this with you. Like, I would not be shocked if Kyle Pitts is actually the number one target in this team in the passing game. Like, I think that Kyle Pitts, I think people forget just how good Kyle Pitts is because these past 2 seasons, like the guy was a true generational receiving tight end prospect coming out of the draft. So like I would not be shocked in the slightest if he ends up being the number one wide receiver on this team, wide receiver, whatever you want to say.
So do you think like Garrett Wilson, obviously, like uh asking right here, does Rodgers make Wilson a top receiver where you have him? And this is much different, obviously, than the Atlanta dynamic, right? Like we know Garrett Wilson is the guy. There's no questions asked. It's not who's the receiver, who's not. It's Garrett Wilson is going to be the guy. He did 1,000 yards with Zach Wilson. Is Wilson now a guy that could be the wide receiver one?
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
think
Like
so?
100%. I mean, what we've seen out of Garrett Wilson, and I think that the best skill that you can have, because it's a skill and the most important skill for wide receivers is earning targets. And like there's a big misconception out there, like just because you're a guy in an offense where there's nobody else, like you're gonna get funneled targets. That's not how it works. Like good players get targets. And Garrett Wilson, his first 2 years in the league, has been one of the highest targeted players. I think
Yeah,
he's fourth over the past 2 seasons. And the only guys above him are Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and Justin Jefferson. So like
right.
he's an elite company. And once again, like I mean, I talk about this with it's really Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins that are big question marks. But as long as Aaron Rodgers not washed, I really think that you're looking at Garrett Wilson potentially being like CD Lamb esque from last year.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Like Aaron Rodgers, Dak is throwing for over 4,000 yards. Aaron Rodgers is clearly not. He's not going to in this offense where we're expecting Breece Hall to be an RB1 candidate. We're not getting the RB1 out of Garrett Wilson on a yardage rate, right? Like we talk about Tyreek, this is 1,700 yards,
There's two
2,000
guys in
yards.
the offense. It's
Talking
going
about
to be these
CeeDee
two
Lamb,
guys.
1,700 yards, 2,000 yards. We're talking about Garrett Wilson, 1,500 is going to be like his ceiling. Aaron Rodgers is throwing for 3,500 yards. He's not throwing for 4,500.
3,500. I mean, I would say probably push 4,000
I
if
think
he's
that's
not
stretching it.
washed once again.
Yeah, if he's not
I don't
washed.
know why that's stretching it. Like that's all he's done throughout his
He's
entire career.
42. He has now Aaron Rodgers has
He's a
quietly
4,000-yard quarterback.
about 4,000 yards. So
Yeah.
we're talking about a guy that's
So if we're
42 now
saying
coming off an Achilles injury.
this is what I'll say about Garrett Wilson, because what you're going to have are like when you look at offenses and you look at target shares, right? Like who's going to be one of the highest targeted shares, like see the highest target shares in the NFL this year? I would not be shocked if Garrett Wilson honestly leads the NFL in target share or is top 5 in the very least in terms of target share. So like as long as that team is throwing the ball, I mean, I'm going to say they're going to throw the ball 500 plus times, maybe push for 600, maybe not get there, but 550. So if he's seeing a 30% target share, he's going to be right up there with the league leaders in terms of targets at
Yeah.
wide receivers. So like if he's up there, there's no reason why he can't push to be wide receiver 1 because he's so good. Like he's in that tier of skill with I really think next year we're going to be talking about him the same way we talk about CD, the same way we talk about Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. He's going to be in that upper echelon of wide receivers as long as things go right with Aaron Rodgers.
I think he's good. And I
He's
think he's
elite.
more, I don't want to say, I think
Elite.
he's better than Olave, but he's more like in
He's
that
better.
tier than he is CD tier, in my opinion.
We'll
That's
see.
just my We'll see. We're gonna say. What do you think about Malachi Corley though? Because a lot of people are comparing him, Debo
Like
Samuel.
Debo.
I kind of think he's more, in my opinion, I think he's more. Oh, I'm gonna go Ramondre here. I don't normally take Ramondre, but I'm gonna take Ramondre there. I think he's more Randall Cobb esque to me than he is Debo Samuel esque, meaning that the team
More
is gonna use him in the run game. Obviously, good yak guy. You think if you had to pick one of those sides, Debo Samuel, Randall Cobb, who's a good receiver in his own right, which one of those guys are you picking Malachi Corley to be for this offense?
Yeah, I would go with Randall Cobb. Like I mean, Debo's just I know everybody loves to throw compare like Debo's one of one, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I think that there's a chance that Malachi Corley could potentially. Well, I think it's going to be wide receiver 3 basically because Breece is going to be the wide receiver 2 on this team, and so and once again, like you were kind of talking about, like how many times this offense going to truly throw the ball this year? Just because another reason why Aaron Rodgers never has a bunch of passing yards because he's so efficient. Like he just scores once he gets in the red zone. Like the dude just ends drives. So I think that I wouldn't really even in redraft purposes. I really wouldn't be interested in Malachi Corley at all. I think that
Yeah,
there's much better targets than him personally.
I'm with you there. Jahan, you get in any subscriber money leagues? Yeah, we're gonna be doing some subscriber leagues, subscriber money leagues. There may be a chance that me and Tyler do a league together. So stay tuned, man. Stay tuned. A lot of things in the works. Jan, at what points in drafts does best value go out the window? I think after the starting, when you get to like the top 35 running backs, the top 36 receivers, after that, just go get your guy because there's no point in sitting there worried about value because everybody could similarly have the same kind of upside, right? So, in my opinion, once you get to like the later rounds, take the talent you want based on who you've already drafted. If you drafted maybe a safer lineup or maybe a little less risky, go get some riskier guys a little bit later, and vice versa. If you took a lot of risk, say you took a Devin Achane, you took some of these players with a little bit higher risk earlier on. You took a Devontae Adams who may not pan out, right? Like because of age. If you took a guy that's a little bit more risky, now go with a starting caliber player who's not getting enough love. Now you go with a Gus Edwards, maybe instead of taking a Chase Brown. Like that's how I play it, essentially, in my opinion. I don't know. Are you the same way, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that once a certain point, and I don't even think like I think early on, I wouldn't even worry about like ADP where people kind of go. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah,
if you're drafting, especially if you have like those later picks, like a first or a 12th pick, like you can't wait to wait. Hopefully your guy falls to you. If a guy's technically going, not supposed to go for 20 picks, just take him. Like the chances of him falling back to you, especially if you really like him, just go get him. So like
right.
it like there's always value, the best value in fantasy football, but like I'm sure next year things will look so much different. And it happens every single year. Guys go too high, guys go too low. So like at the end of the day, just like you said, I mean, just take your guy and live or die with your choices.
Live or die with it, man. Don't be so attached to the results of this fantasy shit. It doesn't make who you are as a person. It does make
Yeah,
it does. I
it's
will
a
judge
game
you.
we
Yeah,
play.
I will judge you though. If you're not good, I'll judge you. But don't let it affect you, man. I'm at pick one. Thank you guys. Glad to be able to draft. Tony, appreciate you drafting with us, man. It looks like that team's coming together pretty nicely. We'll do quick rankings on teams after the draft, but we're gonna get another one started too. Breece Hall over Christian McCaffrey. I think that's bold. Bold, bro. Bold.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
How do you feel about Drake London? I think we talked about this too, but I've been seeing a lot of like love for Drake London, obviously, and then there's some people who hate Drake London. Like
Yeah,
I've kind of seen both sides of the spectrum when it comes to Drake London, and it's a lot of the uncertainty, right? Like,
yeah.
is Kirk Cousins back? Is Drake London ready to take that next step? Is Kyle Pitts the guy there? Is he the number one receiver, right? So a lot of concern about like Drake London. And obviously, you took both of them. You took Drake London in the third round. How are you feeling about his ADP right now? Because he's going in the middle of second round, about there in PPR leagues.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I love Drake London. I loved him as a prospect coming out. I think that he's honestly a bit Mike Evans-esque. So I really like him as a prospect. And then we've just seen, Kirk Cousins over the past 2 years. And one thing that kind of doesn't get talked about as much is that you have I think that's his name, right? Zach
Yeah, Zach
Robinson
Robinson. Yep.
as the OC here.
Yep.
And he's from the Sean McVay coaching tree. So
Yep.
is Kevin O'Connell. He was from the Sean McVay coaching tree. So now you have Kirk Cousins, who's probably going to be in a similar system that's not going to be too different and take him a lot of time to get really acclimated in the system. So I think and also Sean McVay gets his playmakers the ball. So I
Yep.
think that you're going to see it's really going to be three guys in this offense that are going to see majority of the touches, majority of the targets. So as I keep hating to say this over and over, but as long as Kirk Cousins is okay, I really think that these guys will flourish finally in fantasy football.
Yeah, it's about time, and it's been a long time coming for two high profile picks. I think Drake London is going to be worth the hype this year. Now,
Yeah.
can he get to 2,000 yards? He's going to be the wide receiver one now. But like, is he going to
No,
be?
no, no.
Is he going to be a 1,200 like 1,210 type guy
Could he
with 80
be
catches?
closer to wide receiver 5? I think he could be,
Like,
push potentially close to it. Let's see. I'm
yeah,
gonna
if he was
pull.
like 1,300 yards and 10, 12 touchdowns, I don't think that would shock anybody. Justin, let me know how you feel about Houston. I
Oh,
see you
where's my
drafted Diggs,
guy?
but will Collins outperform him? I think I'm just going to take the guy I think is a better player, and that's Stefon Diggs. I think Nico's a great receiver, and I think he was forced to be the number one receiver for this team last year. And the CJ Stroud thing kind of advanced all the narratives around this entire Houston Texans team. So you go get a guy like Stefon Diggs, you have championship aspirations. He's on a 1-year deal. Why not force feed the shit out of a guy in probably his last elite season? I think I'm taking Stefon Diggs here, who's been a top 10 guy his entire time, damn near his entire career outside the first couple seasons in Minnesota. So I love the value we're getting with Stefon Diggs. A lot of people are thinking back to the last 6 games of last year and his involvement in the offense. We know Buffalo is already a tough place to play in the second half of the year, but for me, I'm all over Diggs. And I mean, shit, he finished as a top 10 guy last year. So I ain't too mad at Diggs, man. Getting him in the 4th round?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like
A lot
Diggs,
of
though.
time.
You like Diggs or not?
I don't mind Diggs, like for where he's currently going. I do like Nico though. I mean, I will say though, like that second round is tough, and would I be shocked if like Devontae Smith, and we talked about this before, and like DK Metcalf, goes in the 4th round? Would I be shocked if he outperforms Nico Collins this year? Not really. So it's like, just feels like you got to take these guys a little bit earlier than what they really need to be going. And that's kind of why I just go with the quarterbacks, because I feel like they're just really safe in that range compared to a
Yeah.
lot of the different guys who could be okay, but just not true difference makers.
Send me the risk. Send me the risk, man. Jahan, your thoughts on the USA Olympic team? Think they're going to take it? I don't see how they don't. That team is stacked. Stacked. The bench is better than most Olympic teams. I just don't see how they lose. I don't see how they lose, man. Before the ACL, Breece was averaging 5.8 yards a carry. Now it's the 2nd year after the surgery. I see all the love for Breece Hall. I see it. I get it. I just think the receptions were. I think, to be honest, like we've seen Breece be a pass catcher last season in that offense. It wouldn't surprise me if he looked more like. Excuse me. It wouldn't be surprising if he looked more like Jonathan Taylor this year. That's kind of my expectation.
Well, and another thing is we're like kind of like nitpicking this. Like this is running back 2 and running back 3. I get it that it could be, maybe a league-winning decision. Although I really don't think as long as these two guys are healthy, I'd be shocked if they're not finishing inside, like at the very least top 5 at the running back position. So
yeah, I'm with you there. Arizona Cardinals, a sleeper team? Hell no. Ain't no way, bro. Rate teams afterward. We can do quick ratings. Quick ratings. This one's for you, Tyler. You got Pitts over Andrews?
Yeah. I think that this offense has more just receiving upside for Kyle Pitts than like, the Baltimore Ravens do with Mark Andrews. And also like Mark Andrews was, and this is no slight at Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the league, but also like, I just wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Pitts outproduces him this year, just because that team's going to throw the ball more. And you do have Zay Flowers. Like Zay Flowers, very good his rookie season, should only improve this upcoming year. So
what's the difference between Mark Andrews and George Kittle? What's the difference? They're both low ceiling type elite tight ends. That's it. They're safe floor, low ceiling tight ends. What's the difference? Why are we taking Mark Andrews so high? It makes no sense to me. Even in Todd Monken's offense, like he looked good at times last year, but was he going to finish the tight end 1 and have 1,200 yards and 10? No, that's not his role in this offense. What?
Well,
what are we doing?
Another thing that I'll say about George Kittle, and I know that you're a 49ers fan, but like, Nico, Elite Takes, you know who he is, Nico? Have you seen him? He's a kid. He does great stuff. But he talked about this, which I think is also like everything went right for San Francisco last year. Not every year does everything go right for teams. You have players that get hurt. And I think if one of those guys, now I don't like to draft players in this, but if one of those guys get hurt, or say Brandon Ayuk is shipped out of there, like that's going to just catapult George Kittle, in my opinion, to the elite tight ends, because George Kittle is one of the best tight ends in the league. All he needs is just like not so much competition. There's just so much competition in that offense.
We've been saying that for years about George Kittle, though. That's the reason why he never goes tight end 1 anymore, is because there's too much ball to go around, or the quarterback. Or it's always been something with George Kittle, and no matter what, he finishes in the top 5. Every year he finishes in the top 5.
I just don't think that he can be tight end 1 without something like that happening, though.
Agreed, but that's where could happen. That's why I think he's just like Mark Andrews. I don't think there's a chance in hell George Kittle's the tight end 1. Like just with especially with Pitts and Pitts, Laporta, and whatchamacallit out
McBride.
there, McBride. Yeah, there's no way. Ain't no way that they could be that he's the number one tight end. But is he probably the safest out of that bunch? Getting him at the tight end 7 right now. Kittle's
Yeah,
in this draft, he
and
went 1, 2,
sometimes pretty
3,
late.
4, 5, 6, 7. He was the tight
And
end
he
8
went
in this
late.
draft.
That
Tight
is
end
pretty
8, bro.
crazy.
2 rounds after Andrews. So I don't know, man. What up, Jay Han? Long time no see. Jorge was popping, bro. Was popping, man. Trey McBride will 1,000,000 times be better. Okay, 1,000,000. Pit start. Hey, you riling him up with this pit start off the board tight end, man. Got to head out, Jay Han. Appreciate you, Daniel. Hey, I'll see you soon, man. See you soon. Do you like Bowers or David Njoku more? I think this is easy for me, David Njoku, but you see it differently. I've talked a little bit about Bowers and I kind of think he's going to disappoint, but tell me if you see that differently. I got David Njoku comfortably over Brock Bowers.
I want to say I don't know if I actually do or not. I think it's close for me. I will say that. And the reason why is just like, man, if Joe Flacco was the quarterback, I mean, David Njoku probably would be the best value on the board. But like
Yeah,
Deshaun just I don't know what it was. Like it just didn't happen with Deshaun. And Deshaun still is like, I don't know, just not himself, I guess.
yeah,
I don't know. But like I do think Brock Bowers is intriguing. I think that he'll be the number 2 target in this offense. Just comes down to like, is this offense actually going to be good?
yeah. Well, I think Minshew could carry the offense.
I think it can be sneaky.
But is he guaranteed to even be the second in line for targets? Like behind Jacoby Myers, who had a really
Yeah,
nice season last year. They drafted Trey Tucker last year, who played really well towards the end of
I
the
think
year.
it'd be at
So
least 3.
I think he's more like third, fourth, maybe. Like I just don't really see it for Brock Bowers, who they drafted Michael Mayer last year, who's going to be, I'm assuming, at least a part of the offense as well. So why are we expecting Brock Bowers to just come in and play what big slot for them? Like that's kind of what we're
But what do
assuming.
you think Njoku is going to be? You think he's going to outpace Jerry
Njoku,
Judy?
yeah, I think he'll be around Jerry Judy numbers, like 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. They'll probably be very similar when it comes to their receiving production, but like
Deshaun can
Deshaun was
be,
going to Amari Cooper early on in the season,
yeah,
not Njoku.
and Deshaun started to get a little bit better last year until unfortunately he got hurt again.
Right.
So as if we can just get it out of him, like holy
Yeah.
shit, come on,
I think it's
like
possible. You took him in this draft. You
yeah,
got
I like
you
for where he
hey,
goes.
you invented a new strategy here, Ty. The risky quarterback strategy. You went with the riskiest possible quarterbacks, man. You went with one who could get hurt, one who has been playing well, and another one who may not even be starting week 1.
Well, maybe not, but I don't need him for week 1. That's okay. He'll be starting at some point for sure.
No, this has been a good draft. I appreciate everybody tapping in. We're going to be doing another draft. So if you've been watching and waiting to get in after we rate the teams, or once the draft finishes, I'm going to open up another one. Drop what you guys want to see in the chat. Unless Tyler, you got something you want to do? Do you want to do like a bigger one? You want to do like a 16 team single QB? You want to do more positions? What you trying to do?
I honestly it doesn't matter. Whatever chat, I usually just go with what my chat wants to do. So whatever they pick, I mean, I'm
Same
down
thing,
to
bro.
do.
Chat, run it up. What y'all want to see draft wise? How am I looking? Never did super flex. We're gonna run it up here in just a second. Marvin Harrison, we're taking in the second round. I don't see it personally, but some people like him. How do you guys rank ETN, Jacobs, ETN, Jacob, Mixon, Rashad, and Kyron? The mid-round RBs are all good, and I know Kyron and ETN aren't good in Justin's book. See, I got to change this narrative. It's not that they're not good. I don't like the draft spot. How you feeling about those backs?
I mean, ranking them, I would go. I think I have Kyron ETN. I don't know if it's ETN or Kyron. They're right next to each other. And then I think I have Rashad, and then I do have Mixon over Jacobs. That is one thing I do have.
Yeah.
I don't mind where Kyron Williams and ETN are going, honestly. Like I think they're okay. For whoever you like the most. I mean, they really I think that you can start, punching like putting holes in all the guys that are going in the second round where they're currently going. Like you start to really look at question marks with some of these players. So I don't hate them.
I feel so. Here's how I look at this, right? Because they're all so even, I look at who has the red flags and who can I find value on. So when it comes to ETN, I'm like, okay, ETN and Kyron are going earlier. I don't feel like if I get Jacobs later, I don't feel bad about that. If I can wait and get Mixon around later, I feel even better about that. So now I can get the receiver that I want, and then I can just wait and get Mixon. Rashad tends to fall at times. Like I try to find the value. So in order to get Kyron this year, he's luckily been falling, but you got to take him in the second round. In order to get ETN, you got to take him probably top of the third round. So I'm waiting to get the value on Mixon, Rashad, or Jacobs. Mixon and Jacobs to me feel like the best values at their ADPs right now.
Man, your followers really don't like Achan, huh? Look at
I guess
Achan
you,
falling
you
down
got
the
him in the
board.
fourth, right after. I mean, he was what, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's about right. He's the 10th running back off the board. What's wrong with that?
My followers usually take him like beginning of the second. He goes
That's because they
early.
mirror your crazy ass mind. Your followers were all taking Jamar Chase as the first pick too last year.
Hey, it wasn't his fault, all right?
All right, let's get into ranking these teams, and then we'll run up another one. Tyler, I'm gonna send you a link right now. Drake London ADP is too rich for my blood. I ain't mad at it. You don't have to love every player, man. All right, let me get this link off to you real quick, and then I'll fix the settings. All right, we in the game. I'm gonna pick spot. I'm gonna go later in the draft. I'm gonna pick spot 12 this time. Actually, let's make it 14 team single QB. 14 teams. I don't know if we could fill that. We better be able to fill that.
What is this?
14 team single QB.
Okay. I'll go pick 4.
Okay. And now everybody can get in. I'm gonna run it up. So we'll do the comments. Boom. Right there. All right. Before we get into that, I saw a comment come in. Justin, how do I join the Dub Club? This is important. If you guys want to join the Dub Club, the link is down. You'll see it in the description or right here. Be the first to join a Dub Club. That's where all my rankings, my draft guide, everything is going to all be included, behind the scenes stuff, all my picks for the week. So instead of just getting like my one play on Instagram or on TikTok and then, having to watch a long video, you'll get every single one of my player props and all my picks for the week in there in the Dub Club. Rankings are dropping this week. All right, rank the teams real quick, and then let's get on to the next one. This one right here, Rodgers, Allen, Derek Carr. We got I'm not really feeling this team, Tony. This was Kyron, Etienne, Mixon. You got Debo, McLaurin, Deontay. I feel like the receivers are weak for a 3-receiver league. Ingram was taken a little early, in my opinion, but I think you could have done better with your draft spot number 1. I don't mind the team, but this is like a 7.5 to me. I think you could have did a little bit better here. I like what you did later in the draft more than I like what you did early in the draft.
Me?
Yeah, you want to do this one? You want to alternate again?
Yeah, that's fine. I like this team. You could probably, looking at the quarterback position, I mean, maybe you got Trevor Lawrence a little bit later, like 4th round. But I just think the start, Christian McCaffrey, Garrett Wilson, I love that. I mean, Cooper Kupp's got upside. The wide receivers are, honestly, I like Neighbors. I like Zay. So I think it's a pretty solid team, like a hero RB build. So it looks good to me. Rating, I would say I'm going to lower the ratings this week. I learned my lesson last week. I'm not giving out too many high ratings. So it may sound low, but it's not low. I'm going to say 7.7.
7.7. It's not bad. All right, here's how I do my ratings. Okay, I do 7.5 is like I don't think you're gonna make the playoffs. 8.0 is like you're a fringe playoff team in my opinion with a strong chance to make it. And then 8.5 is like you probably got the best team in the thing. If it's a 9 or above, chances are we did an auction draft and you're just like so much better than everybody. I don't think there's a perfect draft, so I'll never give a 10 out of 10. That's how I do it. 6 is like you didn't even try. That's where I'm at on the scale. All right. Third up, we got CMC later. We got CeeDee Lamb, Nakua, Nico, and Watson with Dak and Stafford. I like the quarterbacks there for the value you got on. Rashad, Swift, Javonte. This is a good team. I think this is an 8. The only thing you're missing, you have like CeeDee Lamb for the star power, but you got a lot of questionable star power, in my opinion, on this team. And you're so tied to the Dak CeeDee Lamb stack now. That's the only way I see this one. Like Nakua and Nico could hit, but obviously Cooper Kupp's back. Diggs is back. A lot of question marks with Swift and White. I don't like this team a whole lot, but I think it's a good enough team to get in the playoffs. That's about an 8.
All right, so this next team, Mahomes, Kelsey stack. Ooh. So I like this team a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Like the running backs obviously are a bit of a question mark. Nick Chubb, I mean, could be a
Man,
lottery ticket potentially, but like that 3 wide receivers is just so nice with that quarterback. And then got an elite tight end. So, but the running backs is pretty weak.
that's weak,
I
bro.
would've went with like a running back there in the instead of Kirk Cousins, instead of going your quarterback 3 there, I would have just went with like Ramondre. I think it would have made it better. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna say a 7. Do I like it more than the other one? Probably not. So I'm gonna say 7-5.
7-5. Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, next up we got Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray with Harrison, Kirk, Lad McConkey, Pacheco, and Cook with Zeke. Damn, I don't know. I figure quarterbacks obviously are going to hold this team up, but when you got two rookie receivers starting and a guy that's probably going to be suspended for 8 to 12 games in there, and you got two Bills kind of leading your attack, it's like that aren't Josh Allen. I'm not really a fan of this team. I'm not gonna lie. This is like a 7.5 to me, bro. I'm not really a fan of this team. I'm not gonna lie to you.
All right, the next one here is the Brock Purdy one. Solid value there. Um, Looking at the squad, Keenan Allen, Calvin Ridley. I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of guys I don't like personally. Like I'm not a fan of a lot of these guys. But hey, it's your team. But I'm gonna say like only 3 running backs on the roster too. That's pretty crazy. But I'm gonna say it's a 7-3. I'm just not a fan of some of those players on the roster personally.
We see this game. It's crazy how me and you see the game like because I this is like a roster. I'm like, damn, this is you
Oh
got
yeah,
Hill, Ayuk, Keenan Allen, Ridley,
you
bro.
like
You're
those guys.
stacked. Taylor, Kamara. This team look and Goddard down there. Like this team looks stacked to me.
Yeah, you like those
Lamar,
guys.
Gibbs, Henry, Kenneth Walker. Love the running backs here, Rock. With Waddle, Jaden Reed, Godwin, Keon Coleman down there for some upside. You got Leggett and Pearsall down there. Jalen Warren as your fourth RB. I think that's a good spot for him. You got Mark Andrews. Only thing is your QB2, bro. In a super flex league, you got to get another quarterback. So maybe instead of like a Keon Coleman or Xavier Leggett right there, you're getting a Russell Wilson, a Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, just somebody that you know is going to be at least a back end startable type of QB2 for you on a weekly basis. You got to get somebody like that in this draft. You can't go in with Bo Nix because we don't even know if he's going to be on the field to start the
Yeah,
season. So
that's rough.
that's tough. And then ideally you want to at least have a backup in case Lamar gets hurt or somebody gets hurt. So that would be the difference in this draft is if you could take maybe even 2 quarterbacks there instead of taking Coleman and Leggett, you're getting 2 more reliable quarterbacks there. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So this next one, and Gabe is pretty mad.
Is he?
Uh,
Oh yeah.
sorry, Gabe. I'm sorry.
7-3
I
is
just don't like some of those players personally.
I got you, bro.
Um,
Hey, I ain't gonna let him disrespect you, bro. That team is solid. I fuck with that team heavily. So it was just like I said, it's weird to hear the difference in opinion of like when we rate teams. That's why you can't. I would say this: you can't take what we say as Bible. You got to
yeah,
rock with the way that you play, the upside, the risk. I think I'm willing to take a risk on more. We talked about older players with your team, Toker. It's like, well, Gabe. It's like I like players like Kamara, Tyreek Hill, Taylor. Tyler doesn't. So it's a little bit different. Like we're all going to say things. It's subjective though.
all right. So this next mid team,
7 is wild.
honestly, it's not bad. Trevor Lawrence is just such a good value there. Like that's crazy. He goes that late in a super flex draft. This is a guy who last year was going like second round, is now in a super flex draft, maybe even first, and now is going in the fifth round. So I think it's overall, I mean, it's a pretty good team. You started off with Jefferson, Saquon, even Devontae, like Diggs, Ramondre as RB2. I'd say it's probably my. Do I like it more than that first one? I'll say it's a 7. I think the first one I gave like a 7-8 or something. I'll
Yeah.
say like 7-7. I don't remember what the first score was.
Yeah. You were, it was like 7-8, 7-9. I'll take a 7-7 on the Tyler scale. CJ Stroud, bro. This was auto draft. You auto drafted, bro. You don't get rankings. So we're going to skip you. St. Brown, AJ Brown,
Well, let
Jacobs.
me do this one so you can get mine.
Oh, yeah. Bet.
Or you can just take the net, whatever you want to do.
Go ahead, run this one. Run Sonny G.
All
Because
right.
he's on a lot of my drafts. So I want him to get a Tyler ranking.
So I mean, I do like this team. The only thing I would have probably done differently is I love Achan, so I would have went with Achan over Jacobs. But like the way you started the draft, you got two really solid quarterbacks, Caleb Williams. I mean, I probably would have went with Jaden Daniels. I just feel like he has a little bit more rushing upside. But like that's just nitpicking. I mean, you got George Pickens, Najee Harris. So I really like this team. I would give it I think it's probably my favorite one. I give it an 8.1 or yeah,
8.1.
8.1.
Yeah, this is a good team. I think I don't see really a weak link outside of like maybe if you want to call Caleb a weak link, but he has so much upside. I don't
Yeah.
really see a weak spot on this team. Ferguson maybe kind of a leaky tight end, but he could win you a week too. Chase Lennon, Devontae Smith, very Tyler S type receiver build here. Risky quarterbacks: Richardson, Watson, Achan, and Brooks. Brooks, you're running back too. You got Brian Robinson down there, so you could start him until Brooks comes back. I like the upside with Brian Thomas there, Troy Franklin at the end. I think it's a good team. I give this like an 8.1. I
Like a
think this is a
10.
good team. Huh? You said like a 10. No, I meant 8.1 out of 100. This is out of scale of 100 now for your team. So this is a good team. I think you just have hella upside on this team. That's the one thing I see
Yeah,
is
it could flop. It
yeah.
could
So I see
flop.
a lot of upside with this team. If Pitts
It's
hits,
probably I
if
win the league or I lose the league.
yeah. Getting 12th place and shit. And then here's the last one.
Oh, my bad. Let's see. Ooh, I like this squad. I mean,
Breece,
I
yeah,
do
bro,
love the
Breece and Bijan.
yeah, that is just such a good start. That's crazy. And then like even the court, like I love Justin Herbert. Um, I mean, even like Tua, like I don't love Tua, but like it's fine. And the wide receiver, honestly, the wide receivers really aren't even bad for going double running back to start this in a three wide receiver league. Like Tank Dell, Higgins, and Chris Olave is like really rock solid for potentially your RB1 and 2 in fantasy football, maybe. So I really like it. This is probably my favorite one of the draft. And once again, like this is just why I love it's either like early pick or just a back end pick in fantasy football this year because you can build out rosters like this. I just think this is a great roster. So for me personally, even like George Kittle as a tight end, I would say it's like an 8.3, 8.4.
All right. All right, so that's the rankings, man. Let us know how you guys think. I just dropped the league chat. Let's see. We already got this thing filled up?